Well, good morning, folks. Welcome back again to Three's End. When I got to Nellis Air Force Base in January 1969, I was assigned to the 430th TAC Fighter Squadron. We had F-111As. They, at the time, were just coming off the line at the production line in Fort Worth. And I think the 430th was the last to begin receiving those airplanes. The 428th and the 429th were already flying them, and I think we had maybe three or four. We didn't have many, if we had any, but I think maybe we had three or four. At any rate, I was assigned to a weapons load shop at that time, and in that shop I had 105 men working for me, and two of them were Chief Master Sergeants, Chief Master Sergeant Edwards and Chief Master Sergeant Lundwall. And these guys were just great guys. Both of them were old enough to be my grandfather. I was 22 at the time. And these guys were just so laid back and easygoing, and they both knew how the cow ate the cabbage. So I watched them quite a bit, knowing I could probably learn from them. But at any rate, they had a routine that just cracked me up once I figured it out. They would come in the morning, and I think they started their day out at the NCO club about 7 o'clock. They'd have a cup of coffee, pick up a newspaper, come over to the squadron, sit down, check over the training schedule, walk over across the hangar, check out the break room, and make sure everything was all set up for the training. And then they come back to the office there. Now, these two guys had their desks butted up against each other, kind of like that. Edwards sat here, Lundwall sat here. And one of them would pull out the newspaper, take out the crossword puzzle, start working on it. And you work on it, and he'd ask them for a word every now and then. And then about 10:30, they'd set the crossword puzzle down, walk back over to the NCO club, have another cup of coffee, and then they come back to the squadron and pass the crossword puzzle back to the other guy. And he'd work on it till noon. And then at noon, they'd walk back over to the NCO club and have lunch. Then they'd come back, and more often than not, the crossword puzzle was toast at that time. It was completed. So they kind of walk around, check on the training, check on the status, various statuses of everything, and then about 4:30, they'd disappear over to the NCO club for happy hour. I was fine with it. The job was getting done, But anyway, this one day we're in the squadron. All of a sudden, the fire alarm went off. Holy crap. So I had no idea about anything. So Sergeant Edwards and I walked out the shop door, looked in the hangar, and there wasn't anything there on fire. Walked across the hangar into the break room for the load troops, and they were sitting there kind of confused and milling around smartly. Apparently, a couple of the kids had gotten into a game of grab ass, and one of them knocked the other one into the fire alarm and triggered it. And I thought, oh my God, now we're really going to get, I'm going to really get in trouble. We're going to get in trouble. These guys weren't supervised for playing grab ass and yada, yada, yada. Sergeant Edwards says, Lieutenant. Now, I don't know how he ever got a D in the word lieutenant. Lieutenant, he says, I got this. Don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. And I said, but you don't understand. I said, we could really get in trouble for this. He says, Lieutenant, he says, just sit back and learn something. Okay. So he looked at his watch there. I guess I saw him. I didn't pay much attention to it. And pretty soon, fire trucks start rolling up. And they get up, and a couple of these guys in their tinfoil suits get out, and big heavy gear come walking into the hangar and say, where's the fire? We want to put something out. Okay, fine. Edwards walks over. He says, who's in charge of this? And this one kid says, that'd be me, sir. He says, it was 7 minutes for you to get here. He says, that is not acceptable. If we had had a real fire, he says, those airplanes would be lost. He said, you need to think about what the hell you're doing. And he says, I expect to see a response time in less than 4 minutes. Do you understand me, Sergeant? Yes, sir. Oh, I mean, he just really reamed the kid. Kid never knew it. When he walked into Lundwall, Edwards, he just didn't know what he hit. At any rate, the kid goes back into the truck and off they drive. Edward looks at me and smiles. He said, that's all there is to it. Well, okay. Lesson learned. The next story I have is about Chief Lundwall. We had a weapons release shop as part of our shops, where we would troubleshoot circuitry and release mechanisms in the various pods that we carried. So Lundwall was in the release shop tinkering one day, and the wing commander came down with a bunch of congressional staffers. So he walks in, and I get in tow because that was the weapons shop and the load shop, weapons release shop, and the load shop were two of my areas of responsibility. So I'm in tow and just kind of following the wing commander as he's talking to these congressional staffers. So he takes, the wing commander takes these suits over to Lundwall, who's working on this component on the bench. And he's explaining to him these airplanes are so new, often we need our most senior enlisted guys or senior mechanics working on them to show the younger guys how to repair these systems and how to maintain them. He said, now Sergeant Lundwall here is working on, he looks over at it, he doesn't recognize the component, and he says, Sergeant Lundwall, exactly what is it you're working on? And Lundwall just kind of looks at me, he says, oh, it's a 4-barrel carburetor for my 57 Chevrolet. Oh, Jesus. We weren't supposed to work on personal equipment on base, using on base tools and stuff like that. And that's when I got my ass chewed that day, once the congressional staffers left. Anyway, today, it wasn't shortly after that either. I could laugh about it, but it was funny. So, just a couple stories about a couple chiefs that took an interest in me, and I just enjoyed working with those guys so much. Anyway, look forward to you stopping back, and we'll have another couple stories for you, I suppose. Until then, take care, guys.